Thank you for coming here today. And thanks for your time. I know it's about lunchtime, but I promise you this is going to be a really exciting panel. We've got experts from 4 different points of view. And today they're going to give you a little bit of insight of what you haven't seen and what's behind the curtains in their world. And our aim here today is to make sure you walk away with a little bit more insight, a little bit more suspicious, and know how to spot the red flags. So with that, our panel topic is smoke, mirrors, and multi-sigs, spotting the red flag scam projects in a hyper-connected world. I'm a CISO preparing for the AI singularity, so I've got another lens to this. Basically, I break and fix things. And today, our awesome panel, we have Gabby from SwiftX, Less Cryptic, More Crypto, exchange just over the corner. We have Jock from Hashlock, industry's leading blockchain cybersecurity and smart contract auditing firm. They're the ones to go to make sure those smart contracts are what they say they are. We have Mike from Chainalysis. If things go wrong, here's the person to contact. They are building trust in the blockchain space. And Arturo, solutions as unique as your challenges. Arturo's specialty is around AI, spotting those deep fakes, and also zero knowledge proofs. And he'll talk about what that means. So, introductions in 60 seconds. Tell the audience who you are and what you do very briefly, and I'll come back and ask you who comes to you for help and how do you help them. And then we'll roll into a couple of scenarios and debunk exactly what's going on behind the scenes. So, Gabby.
Perfect. Thank you, Penny. And exciting to be here on this panel with these really experienced people. But my name is Gabby Lewis, so I'm Head of Fraud and Financial Crime at SwiftX. My job is to ensure that we're operating a secure exchange and that it's not being exploited by bad actors. One of the main things that we're really ramping up at the moment is enhancing our education and awareness. As technology enhances, so does threats. It's an exciting space, so we want to make sure that we give that education so that people can trade in a safe environment. Did I need to say my background?
No, that's great.
Perfect.
Mike?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Mike Meisels. I lead the Chainalysis team here in Australia. For those who don't know, Chainalysis has been around for about 10, 11 years or so. And our mission is to help make people trade safer on crypto. So we work with law enforcement agencies, government agencies, digital crypto exchanges, etc., to share information about who is trading what on what platform. And the idea behind that is for us to identify all the bad actors, the scams, the illicit actors, the terrorist financing cells, people using crypto for illicit purposes, and to ensure those people don't get away with what they do. At Chainalysis, we're global. We're in however many countries or so, 800 people strong, and we help law enforcement agencies put illicit actors behind bars, as well as help the crypto exchanges in the room ensure that your crypto remains safe and secure from illicit actors. We do quite a lot of investigations. You'll see us in the news, like, for example, the Bitcoin Fog case, for example, the Mt. Gox hack. We were the company that put them behind bars in terms of mixing services and mixing stolen funds from what we do. Unfortunately, we also get a lot of requests from local Australians and local citizens around the world when they come across scams. And part of what we do as an organisation is to educate those people about what the scam is, how they got tricked, and hopefully we can get to the point of view of identifying where those funds have gone through whatever bridge, mixing service, etc., and help them to identify that and recover if they can. But if not, at least stop the other people from using those funds.
Jock?
Hey everyone, I'm Jock Haslam from Hashlock. So I'm one of the co-founders and directors of Hashlock. So Hashlock, we're a Web3. Oops. It's the hat, I think, that's causing that. We're a Web3 cybersecurity firm. So what we do is we do smart contract audits, we manage bug bounties, and essentially we make sure that if anything goes on chain, it stays there and doesn't get hacked and stolen. So We do a holistic range of cybersecurity services, making sure that any Web3 project that you, the community, interact with stays safe.
Hello, everyone. I'm Arturo Rodriguez. I'm a co-founder of Node Centralized, which is a venture studio in the emerging tech space. What we do in blockchain is build real-world solutions together with financial institutions. And, together with HashLock, we were part of the Reserve Bank of Australia's pilot project, where we showed how to streamline the payments within a construction project, for example, to minimize the risk across that supply chain. So the people that come to us are individuals within the financial services industry that need help with making their financial infrastructure safer, quicker, all of these nice things that blockchains bring. But we have a focus on zero-knowledge proofs because we bring confidentiality onto the table. We understand that pseudo-anonymity is not enough in a regulated world, because as soon as your wallet gets connected to your identity, everybody knows exactly who you are and what you've been doing and so forth, which is why ZK proofs are so important for us.
Thank you. Just to get a show in the audience, who here is a tech person? Okay. Who here is in the finance sector? And who here has invested in crypto? Oh, wow, amazing. Who here is just dipping their toe, not quite sure what's going on, but learning? Fantastic, welcome. So, Gabby, maybe start with telling the audience, with your role, in your role of work, who comes to you and how do you help them?
Yeah, so my team deals with a large amount of scams, and predominantly what we try and do at the forefront is protect customers from scams. I think there's a common misconception in that cryptocurrency is completely anonymous and you can't trace it. However, it's extremely traceable. We work very closely with the likes of Mike and his team, and the beauty of cryptocurrency is that if you do find yourself in a very unfortunate event where you have potentially sent funds to a scam, we can get onto that quickly. So where we really help customers is ideally at the front line. We can help stop the scam from happening. I love when customers come to us and engage us to ask about a project, an investment. Is this a secure, safe opportunity? And our team are very experienced analysts. We can help educate and help look into that project. However, again, when it is the unfortunate event where you have fallen victim, if we move quick, we can get on and trace those funds. So we use Chainalysis for our tracing. A lot of the funds do quite often go offshore. We do have good contacts with offshore exchanges, but that's where we see a large amount of our interaction with the customers.
Fantastic. So Mike, in your world, again, who comes to you for help and how can you help them? Yep.
Yeah, so we support not only the crypto exchanges like SwiftX with providing the intelligence so that they can actually find out where these funds are coming from, but we work with investigators, law enforcement agencies, tax offices, and all the agencies that's designed in the Western society to keep us safe and to keep us secure, not only from people using illicit funds to scam people, but also using crypto to pay for services, to do other means or do anything else that we're talking about, so ransomware, et cetera, et cetera. So we work with all those different leading exchanges. I think it's important also, and Gabby touched on this, is that crypto is so easy to trace. The lineage is so easy to understand what's going on with or without a product like Chainalysis. We just make it more human readable. And to give you some stats about realistically what is really going on out there, the US Treasury released a report. In the current financial system today, in 2023, $3 trillion went through the traditional finance system was illicit. Only 0.8% of that was within crypto. So criminal activity is still fundamentally in our traditional finance system because A, it's very hard to track. So it's not just people are going to crypto to use that as a means to rip off Australians, hide illicit funds, money launder, buy ransomware, because all of that is easy for us to trace using our technology, and we help agencies to do that. It's about helping us to educate the local community about how they keep safe, and we work with members of parliament and the local community to actually work on that basis and to bring that back down to grassroots so we can all benefit from building a greater financial, more open ecosystem using crypto.
Yeah. So we're really lucky to have these guys because they're helping protect our ecosystem, and that's really important. Sharing the information between the different within the ecosystem and industry, and also with retail investors as well. Jock, what about yourself? What type of customers come to you, and how do you help them?
Yeah, of course. So pretty much anyone who's looking to launch a project on chain, it might be an upcoming token, it might be a dApp. Essentially, if you're in that sort of testnet stage of the development life cycle, like let's say 90% complete, you'd come to us, we'd look at all the code line by line, we'd find a bunch of vulnerabilities and exploits that would otherwise go sort of unchecked, and then we'd send you a confidential report, you'd fix all that, and then we check that you fixed it all in the way that we've said, and then you can launch securely on chain. It's essentially, I feel like it's a bit different in Web3 compared to Web2, where if there's like a hack or an exploit like CrowdStrike or something that happens, it's like, oh, how can we cover it up and not say that we do it? In Web3, it's like you air your dirty laundry so that people know you have clean clothes. And so you find all the bad stuff, and then we assume that, well, we've found all the bad stuff, hopefully there's nothing else there, so you can launch securely.
So if you were engaging in a blockchain company and you saw Hashlock has done an audit, there's a bit of peace of mind there that
Definitely.
You've gone through it with a fine-tooth comb. Fantastic.
We've got over $2 billion US secured on chain, and no one's lost a dollar.
That's excellent. Arturo, and yourself, in your line of work, who comes to you and how do you help them?
The people that come to us are, as I mentioned before, financial institutions that want to have better rails for their practices. For example, we've tokenized rental agreements and the flows of cash between those rental agreements and agency agreements and so forth. We help these pockets of capital, let's say, that are fintechs that have a need to transact, and then all of a sudden see that blockchain is actually the most cost-effective and safest way to build that financial infrastructure if you're not doing if you need to do so from scratch. Now, I've actually been a customer of Jock, and I think that the interesting part here is to see how we can effectively blend or do that move from Web 2 to Web 3, where you have a very traditional finance customer that has specific needs. We sit there in between and understand which tools we can use to leverage off the wonders of the Web3 infrastructure. And then once we have that solution, we need to have somebody that comes and checks for those vulnerabilities, because they happen a lot. It's really difficult, and it's complex work to develop all these different smart contracts. So having a third party that checks it for you is super, super important. And that's, again, something that really doesn't happen in Web 2 in that open way.
I mean, it's an exciting space. As we're innovating with emerging technologies, there's always going to be that threat. The hackers and the fraudsters are always that one step ahead. You've got to just watch out. And I guess we're here today to learn how to watch out for things. So there's a couple of scenarios with the panel. We thought we'll give you real examples of what's going on, and perhaps some of the things that not really is in the public eye. Gabby, did you want to start with that scenario we talked about before, and the scammers and the call centers and how people are actually falling victim, basically?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this conversation is timely. We're at all-time highs. It's exciting. Everyone's wanting to jump in. And I think we also need to be aware of the threats and make sure that we're doing our research and we're aware of the investments that we're getting into. So these bad actors will play on, the fear of missing out, the sense of urgency, make money quick, and they emotionally can manipulate people. Again, we're dealing with emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence. However, one of the threats that has been going on for a very long time, and if anything, it's going to continue ramping up, and what that is that scam farms. Now, scam farms are extremely prevalent in the likes of Southeast Asia, and they're targeting Australians each and every day. Now, what happens in these scam farms is commonly if people fall victim, they think that on the other end of the phone or the device, it's a scam artist. In true fact, that's not always the case. In many of these instances, the other person on the other end of the phone is actually a human trafficking victim. Now, what happens in these scam farms is they're large compounds that are set up in the likes of Southeast Asia, and the perpetrators that are running these scam farms, they live at the compound with their families, with their kids. They live like kings. Their victims, who are the human trafficking victims, are living on those compounds as well. And they're not living like kings. They're essentially slaves. They sit on a floor and they've got all their computers, much like our office environments, and they've got KPIs that they have to hit. If these victims themselves don't hit their KPIs, there are torture rooms that they get taken to. So this activity that's going on actually funds organised crime, and it's a serious issue that's going on. So I think, again, we need to go back to the fact of what are these scam farms executing, and Mike may be able to add on to this a little bit more, the type of crime that we're seeing come out of those scam farms. However, it's your investment scams, it's your Hey Mum scams, it's your smart contract scams. There's not one type of scam that's coming out of these scam farms. And that's why I think it's really important that, again, cryptocurrency, so many opportunities, it's so exciting. And when we're dealing with customers from the exchange point of view, we're working with the customers. We want the customers to do well. We want you guys to have an incredible trading opportunity. However, the reality is there are these threats that are going on. So if customers do unfortunately fall into a safety net, we're here to work with you. We're here to help you understand why you may be a part of that safety net, because the reality is there's the likes of the scam farms that are actually going on behind the scenes.
Thank you. Thanks for that insight. I bet you didn't know about that one. And you can fact check that. If you Google it, you'll be really horrified. And that's why I guess exchanges and regulated exchanges, they're helping protect the ecosystem. And to protect you, I'll feel horrified if I knew that my transaction was actually going to one of those scam centres. So Mike, give us your insight.
Yeah, so my insight is that there's a couple of things I want to say first is that, blockchain offers a massive, massive efficiency gain for us as a human race. It unlocks borders and it creates efficiency around the fact that you can send any type of value anywhere in the world without anyone in the middle to take a fee, to take a cut, to pass it off. Now, it's just like the internet was back in the 90s. The fact that information now flows across border with no one, air gapping what information you can and can't see. We all have to remember that that's the same with crypto. Everything that we want with crypto to be frictionless, fast, and cheap is there with blockchain. But it's also there that we now have to take the emphasis on ourselves to understand where that's going to and what we're interacting with. So when we pick up the phone and speak to someone, when we send money to someone, we click on something, we do something, the emphasis is on us as a human race to say, right, we don't have someone in the middle looking after us anymore because we're not paying the fee. We're taking ownership of that ourselves, and we need to know who we're talking about and who we're talking to. So this is where this is coming from. And so the emotion that Gabby was talking into, that human trafficking angle with KKK Park and some of the other ones in Cambodia, Dubai, et cetera, is quite discerning to hear that people are being human trafficked into slaves who may have gone for a job advert themselves and have fallen into this territory themselves. Again, there's a lot of state-based actors as well that are doing this as well. So it's not just human trafficking, it's actually state-based actors, such as some of the ones that you'll read in the newspapers that are funding, nuclear weapons programs, terrorist financing, et cetera, who are organizing some of what we're going on. So this is at a larger scale for what we're talking about. And it relies on us, realistically, as someone that owns crypto and someone that interacts with crypto, to be mindful of who we're talking to, who we're sending to, and what we're clicking on when we're doing that from that point of view. Now, some of the things that we really do engage with is trying to add friction to that, to slow things down a bit, so that people such as Gabby and her team can ask questions. Hey, we've seen this signal that you might be doing something we think you shouldn't be doing, or you may not be aware of it, such as a scam, such as when someone's telling you to go to an ATM with a big wad of $100 notes and put it through that ATM because there's no one in there to add friction to you sending it to them. Our job is to try and add friction to that process so it slows you guys down from being scammed and going towards things. And in our partnership, we work with the National Anti-Scam Centre in Australia, we work with our partners on stage, and we work with law enforcement to provide that intelligence to everyone else so they can use that in their judgment to keep people safe and keep people what they're doing. And if we do that locally, we then stop some of the things that we see in the newspapers and the wider schemes, such as the ransomware hacks, such as the Medibank hack. All of these things are organized crime paid for using illicit funds through hacks, but paid to darknet markets and paid to buy software in order to do these ransomware things. So some of you may have heard of something called Lockbit. Again, it's a service that you can buy on the internet today on a darknet market. You can pay for it in Bitcoin, and it gives you the technology to take over people's computers. And the funny thing is that they're asking for you to pay for it in crypto. We can detect that super quickly. Not only can we detect it, we can detect it for our law enforcement partners to act upon that super quickly, and for the exchanges to freeze the accounts. So it helps us to actually try and keep people safe. So that information is there and easy to do, but at the end of the day, you know, this community and this ecosystem, whilst it may move fast, it also relies on us as a community to act upon some of the information we provide and what we do.
Jock, from your side of the fence and from the hundreds of smart contracts you've audited, what are you seeing, and how can we spot these scams?
Yeah, well, I think to stop the scams at sort of an infrastructure or smart contract level, you definitely need to get your projects and your contracts audited. You know, it can be through us. There's plenty of other good firms out there as well, but definitely, you know, not to shill myself, we're pretty good too. But essentially, the thing, that's sort of like something that we can have a better crack at actually stopping, because I like to say that compared to humans, code, when it's compiled down to a binary state, is either, you know, 0 or a 1. It's a yes or a no, where humans and when we have these scam farms and things like that, there's so many different variables that you have to try and factor in. It's way more difficult to manage. So I think these social engineering scams that we continue to see, and also layering that on top of, like, you know, spinning up quickly, just, you know, spin up a contract for a cloned USDT and send it to an Atomic wallet, and you can scam people into thinking that, you know, those funds are legitimate, and that's where we see all the time. And I'm sure everyone here on stage with me has seen where you have to unfortunately deliver the bad news that no, those funds aren't real. You don't have anything that is of any sort of store of value in your wallet. So I think it's so much more difficult to manage, but if you have things at a code level, you can manage it if you go to the right security firms and get it checked.
Thanks, Jock. Arturo, deep fakes. Give us an example. That $25 million.
Yeah, that was a fascinating one. I can't recall the name of the firm, but effectively what happened was that person transfers $25 million because they sit on a Teams meeting with individuals that they're seeing, they're talking to, they're interacting with, but they're not real. And this is live, it's real time. So when we go back to thinking about the different types of scams, you know, you have the social engineering scams, and now that's like God-level social engineering, right? You cannot see the difference. You then have the engineering attacks, let's say, which, you know, can be mitigated effectively by having, you know, you can have auditing in place. You can ensure that you only interact with services that have been interacted with a lot, because one of the best ways of mitigating risk is effectively by seeing how long this service has been around If it's been around for a long time, then it's probably quite safe. But if we go back to what Gen AI effectively does for you, it makes you really understand that you cannot trust even what you see. You can't trust that somebody's calling you and sounds like your mother or like your brother. At the end of the day, I think that you always need to ask yourself, what is the purpose of the action that I'm taking, right? Why am I actually supposed to send this money? And then have multiple ways of verifying that. So you have the conversation, you have an email, you have a phone call, because usually it's quite hard to attack every single one of those vectors. And if you have consistency across all of these verifications, then you're probably okay. But definitely don't rely today on being able to talk or look at someone and think that that's real, because it might actually not be.
Can I just add to that as well? It's like, how many people would actually meet someone in a pub and actually believe what they're telling them? You know, how many people would actually swap, you know, their beans for a cow, you know, just like the old children's tale? You know, if you meet someone and it's too good to be true, it probably is. And this is not a crypto problem. This is an intelligence problem that I feel that people need to think a lot more about what they're interacting with. The idea that AI is out there. We use ChatGPT, we use information. We've got to take into account what we see. Do we accept that as to be the truth, or do we put our thoughts behind it? You know, we look at Twitter or X, do we accept what's there? You know, the good example about AI is, how many people remember the Channel 9 hack for Elon Musk that took over YouTube's Channel 9? And he said, send me some Bitcoin. Do you know how much money that raised in 35 minutes of being up? $2 million US, because we tracked it. $2 million US, people believing on the Channel 9 YouTube channel that Elon Musk was saying, I'll send you free Bitcoin if you send me this money. At the end of the day, yes, it's on the Channel 9 news site, but we have to think about what we're looking at and think about, do we accept that as being real? Someone really giving us something for nothing. And that's exactly what these scammers are looking for. They're looking for us as humans to fall into traps of romance scams, investment scams, etc. You know, there's nothing, you don't get something for nothing for free in this world, so you need to think more about that. Just because there's AI doesn't change the way that we as humans need to interpret things.
Thank you, yes. And from the cybersecurity space, trust but verify. Just remember that. Trust that you got an SMS or a WhatsApp message from your daughter or your mum, but make sure you just call her, just in case it is her or not her. It's worth just doing that double check. And the next is from you know, being in cybersecurity for 20 years, 70% of hacks is because of social engineering. It's a play on your psychology. It's not a direct hack on systems. They're manipulating you. And it's getting worse because you're getting manipulated by an element of AI. I mean, AI is not there yet, but an element of AI tricking you to give up something. Money, passwords, anything. Or your friend's number. I mean, that's the reality that we're walking into. So with that and the panel of experts, I'm going to ask them for 3 tips for the audience. And then we're going to throw it to you guys and ask questions. I want you to ask the most difficult questions. And these guys are going to answer it. So Gabby, 3 tips.
Is it too good to be true? Then again, it probably is. I'd also suggest just to stop, slow down and check. And the other tip would be to actually be aware of your investment. Know, what are you investing in? You're not going to go and buy a house tomorrow in 2 minutes. Why are you going to go and chuck $100,000 into an investment opportunity that you don't understand? You know, we get 90-year-olds signing up to our platform and Marg's looking at sending a whole heap of money to get into an NFT project. When you ask Marg what an NFT is, she has absolutely no idea. So you need to understand your investment, do the research, reach out to the likes of your exchange and gain that assistance.
Yeah, that's good advice. Look, I 100% agree with Gabby on this. Slow things down a bit. You know, as a human race, we've all been about speeding things up. The way that we log into our mobile phones with Face ID, biometrics, passwords, internet, information, money. we need to slow things down until we're sure that things are correct, and don't feel scared to ask. You know, there's people on the end of the help centers and all of the software that you're using who are happy to take a moment and work through things, and there's a lot of trusted information out there from that point of view. But one other piece of advice I would say is, as you're moving into crypto, learn a bit more around the security side of crypto. Learn about not keeping all of your eggs into one basket. Yes, you can sign up a MetaMask wallet. Yes, you can sign up an OKX wallet or any of the wallets out there. But remember, these things are just one basket you're going to keep all your eggs in. It's okay to separate these things out. So I know we all have like one CBA account or one Westpac account. In this world, it's okay to have multiple wallets, like a hardware wallet, where we can keep things in cold storage, disconnected from the internet, and put a small part into our temporary wallet that we're engaging with today. And just be careful, you know, when you go onto a website, we've all been very easily trained in, you know, clicking on the Google button to sign into a website, clicking on the Facebook button to sign into a website. How many people know what the information that gives the company, you know, such as our name, our date of birth, our email address? When you're doing that with crypto, be very mindful of the button that you're clicking to sign that signature. Take a moment, read it, see what they're looking at. Even verify that code is correct. Does it actually want to do something that it should be doing, or is it there to drain all of your funds? So don't be trigger happy about just clicking the button because it's there, because we've been trained to click on the Google icon, to click on the Facebook icon. Take a moment and think about that. You know, just take a second if we can talk about this, but Gabby and I and a lot of the exchanges in the room and in this place worked on a project called Operation Spincaster. And Operation Spincaster was run globally, where the scammers were tricking people onto the fact they could just click on the button and they just start investing their money. In fact, what was happening with their money was being drained and converted and drained off, and we were tracking that. So it relies on you being super casual about clicking the buttons, and all we're saying is slow down, take a moment to think about it, and read what you're doing.
Quick show of hands before I give out my 3 tips. So who here knows what a smart contract audit is or heard about it before today? So roughly half. Okay, that's good. So tip number 1, if you're going to invest in a project, I would Google the project name and audit and see if they have an audit before you put any money into it. Essentially, have they paid for someone to check their code before you invest money into them? Number 2 would be, who did the audit? Because essentially, there's nothing stopping any of you here today spinning up a company and, you know, becoming smart contract auditors. So there's no standards in this industry. It's pretty much 100% reputation based. So you need to sort of verify and vet who are the best auditors in the space. There's resources like rec.news where you can see, I guess, the biggest hacks and who was tied to them. But I think you can look at the auditing firm's site, see the projects that they've done, and see if they're like big names that are well trusted in the space. Number 3, don't blind sign any contracts. If you don't trust what it is that you're signing in your wallet, then do not do it, because you'll forget about it and later on you'll check your wallet and all your funds will be gone.
Arturo.
So I lost the full $40 once because I was just clicking around, and I've been doing this for a long time. And the only thing that actually saved me from losing more than $40 was fund segregation, so having multiple wallets. I think that's really the only security that you have, unless you're actually knowingly transferring a lot of money from A to B. Furthermore, I think that if you are going pure degen and you kind of look for effectively the shit coins, just because they lose money doesn't mean that they're a scam. They could just be a bad idea. But you can do a little bit more due diligence in terms of going through, sure, you're not going to read code, but look through the code base. See if there are many commits to the GitHub. See if there's a lot of activity in terms of development. Just because they say that they have been audited doesn't mean that they actually have been audited. So I think that it's really about tracing all of the information that they provide and trying to verify that with you. that you try to verify that elsewhere. And it's all possible because most of this stuff is actually open source. But most importantly, it's really about just keeping that segregation of funds because they can't touch what you don't give them access to, right?
Thanks. You've got a good point there. And it happens to the best of us. It's not because you know more or you know less. I mean, I got done for airdrop scam, like drained. But lucky, I only had $100 in there. So it's like, it's fine. I learned a lesson and it was a $100 lesson.
Sorry, I just want to add on to that for what Arturo was saying. You know, a lot of the scams that we see are just basic Web 2 scams, so basic internet scams. You know, just verify the website you've gone to. You know, put the name into Google and see when it came up. You know, for those who know how to verify when the domain was created, you'll go see that these things are spun up within the last couple of days, because that's how the code works. They get spun up and rebranded by AI code all the time. So just do verification. Go. If you've got a company that says, oh, I've been around for 10 years, but the website was created last week, it's an alarm bell that's something you shouldn't even be on. Forget about crypto, just the website itself. So just basic looking at the website is a good example.
Thanks, Mike. So we've got about 10 minutes left, and I want to throw it back to the audience to ask some questions. Someone got the mic? Yep. Lady in the middle, and then lady at the end.
So you guys spoke a lot about personal responsibility when choosing when you invest, you know, verify, make sure that you're using security features, all of that kind of stuff. What do you think is the role of the platforms in helping customers keep their funds secure?
Do you want me to take that one? Thanks, Gemma, for the question there. I think I want to touch on, firstly, again, I want to touch on personal security. One of my favorite quotes is, if you want to avoid your house from being broken into, the answer is put locks on the front door. However, those locks won't work if the owner opens the front door. So when you've got your virtual accounts, you need to put locks. I don't know what that was. When you've got your virtual accounts, you need to put the locks on the front door. So that's when we talk to the safe storage practices. However, again, if you open that front door to your account, that's where you give them the keys to the kingdom. When you get the likes of SMS OTPs, read what it says. We will never ask you for this code. Do not provide it. So that's where we can enhance the security from the customer side. From the exchanges side, I think one of the biggest friction points is when the exchanges restrict customers' accounts. And again, I want to emphasize that we want to work with customers. We want to help you have a good user journey. Most of the time, there's a good reason as to why potentially you have fallen into a safety net or you have been restricted. I think where exchanges go wrong is the lack of education and awareness. It's the likes of when we ask around smart contracts. Who knows what a smart contract is? The operation that we worked on with Mike and the likes, investors were believing that they had to do an approval transaction to be able to activate their wallet. However, in true fact, you don't need to do an approval transaction to activate a wallet. That's an approval transaction to give someone access to be able to draw out your funds at any point in time. It's like giving someone access to your bank account. And that's where I think we need to do more on the exchange part to make investors aware of what are the threats that are out there. And as well, I would encourage investors to do your research on what exchange you're using. There's many of trusted exchanges here in the room today. Have a walk around, talk to them about their security. However, we do have very, very good security practices, and we'd be more than happy to talk to customers a little bit more about why we do those.
Thank you. The lady at the end, and gentleman here, and then the lady in the middle.
All right. Hello. Okay. So, Mike, this question is actually for you. I know that you advocate for blockchain because it reduces intermediaries. Sorry, I'll speak into this mic. Because it reduces intermediaries. But my question is, isn't that putting too much faith in the intelligence of the reasonable person, as in consumers need to protect themselves? And Abby, you were saying that it's up to the investor to do the education on their own accord. But doesn't that reduce financial inclusion?
I kind of got the question before the mic broke out.
Yeah.
at the end of the day, the blockchain is not a new way to break down silos. The internet's been doing it for years. No one stops you going to a website and clicking on something and put your personal details into that and whatever else happens. No, we've been doing that for at least 2.5, 3 decades. Giving people the ability to put their own information into a website and interact with whatever else is on there, and also download whatever they're telling us to download. When it comes to the next layer of the internet, and that's where we are now with this Web3 side, is that it's not just our information that we're giving away, it's true value assets. And, one of the things that I heard quite recently in the talk is that scammers and what we're seeing going on, people losing money, hacks, etc., is now a national security issue because they're seeing so much money go from the West to the East that they're worried about the next generation of inheritance, ownership, etc. And this is not small money. So we need to put intermediaries out there, such as Oracle, such as technology, such as what we do, to give information to someone. But at the end of the day, if someone wants to tell SwiftX, hey, I'm sending some money to my grandma, and
So are you
you have to believe that.
Are you pro-regulation?
I'm definitely pro-regulation, I'm pro-standards, and I'm pro-education more than anything. 100%, definitely. With regulation comes education, and there comes safety barriers and everything else. How many people buy travel on the internet these days with their credit card? How many people go to Qantas.com and use that? No one goes to a travel agent more, hands over a stack of cash and gets a flight ticket on a piece of paper and takes that to the airport. Everyone engages in the digital economy on the internet these days. And all we're doing is we're providing that next layer to make the digital economy move faster and make it easier for everyone in the world to be on the same level playing field. So for those who don't have banking systems, but they've got mobile phones, they can be in that world as well. So we're level with the playing field. But at the end of the day, it needs regulation, and because regulation drives education.
And just remember, no question is a stupid question. The gentleman over here, and then the lady there, and person at the back.
Thank you. This is for you, Mike. Sorry. There was on X a post made by the CEO of Casa, who had been receiving a call from a scammer, and he went on to have a conversation with him, and the scammer said that he was able to use non-KYC like Tornado Cash to convert the proceeds of the scam and basically launder the money. So how fast can chain analysis get onto the scammers and the way they use these apps to try and liquidate the earnings of these cryptos into the traditional fiat money? And also, like, I'm very aware of all these great tips that you are giving, but I know that human nature is based on emotion, and as the scammer explained, with the auto-doxing and getting personal data from the internet via a phone call, a lot can be known from a person who is being a target of a scam. And so are there any like operating systems that would prevent the use of for example, PDFs that would be corrupted into systems of users? Is there anything that can be learned from that, like running on Linux or having your own node to use your to use your personal wallets and allow users to be more independent?
I think it's all good questions. So, for those who don't know, Tornado Cash is what we call a mixing service. So it allows someone to put money into basically like a whirlpool, like a washing machine. And it mixes with everyone else's funds, and so you get clean funds out, so no one can see what's gone in and what's come out is the same person. So it's designed to be anonymous. Tornado Cash has been used, and we've got to say this, it is OFAC sanctioned, which means it's illegal to use that. It has been sanctioned since 2023. And so because of the sanctions with that, it has been used by a lot of state-based actors to launder funds that have gone from hacks and everything else. Now, what I'm going to say is, and you can make your own judgments about what you see on the internet with Chainalysis, is Tornado Cash is demixable, and we've been doing it for a long, long time. And you'll see the cases that have come up in the newspapers that we've been putting people behind bars through prosecutions that we've testified on. And at the end of the day, it's just a set of code with a set of rules, and you can work out what comes in, what comes out. And we've been doing that for a long time. But Tornado Cash is code at the end of the day, and there's a whole legal side around it. Can you sanction code, or do you sanction the usage of it? We saw the same with Bitcoin Fog, and he's just gone to jail for 12 years now, just a couple of months ago, or last month, I think. And so it's the same thing. It's a mixing service that was designed to illicitly throw off the scent of funds being used for things that they shouldn't be. So the core one with that was BCUCE and Bitcoin, and the Mt. Gox hack. So those hacks went on to fund, you can make your own judgments on what they went on to fund, because I won't say it publicly, but they weren't there designed for good things, and that's why he went to jail, because he ended up laundering money for illicit purposes. Now, at the end of the day, that's code. Now, the same mixing service like Tornado Cash can be used for bridges for good. It is just a way of formulating cross-chain bridges between Polygon and Ethereum and Binance Smart Chain, and a bunch of layer 2s, and it's all perfectly valuable, and it's about providing the same capability so that law enforcement and exchanges can see where your money's coming from. So if Gabby was to receive some money from a bridge, she needs to know that it's not come from an illicit purpose and be able to trace across it. Just for example, if I transferred you money from CBA to Westpac and you sent it to NAB, that's they know it came from Westpac, and Westpac knows it came from CBA. They need to be able to trace that, but in this world it's not. I'm conscious that the time's up as well, but...
I'm getting signals for time as well. Maybe if we can stick around on the side for like another 15 minutes, and then we can get, questions coming through. But thank you to the conference organizers. These things are really hard to organize. Thank you guys for coming here and being here. So I hope you can walk away a little bit more informed and tell your friends and family. Just remember, it's all fun and games until someone loses a wallet or an exchange. So do your own research and, be careful.